Hello, hello. Welcome back, you guys. Jamie Shepley here, and welcome to Seed Sower Lesson 2. Today we are going to talk about why your money isn't working for you, and it's probably not what you think. Most people quote the verse from 1 Timothy 6:10 that states that the love of money is the root of all evil. This verse is absolutely accurate, but it's also mistaught all the stinking time. It is, in fact, the love of money that is the root of all evil, not money itself. But for today, we are going to go a little bit deeper into what the word says about what to do with your money and more about the heart behind your money. So my goal today is for you to get really clear with the Lord and manage, protect, and yes, grow your money on God's terms, honoring Him and not being deceived by the culture standards or misled by the enemy with scarcity, pride, or poverty mindset. Okay, there are 4 types of giving with money and wealth in the Bible. Number 1 is a popular one. It's well known. It is tithing. Tithing in Matthew 6:21, it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." Matthew 23:23, "Woe to you, teachers and laws of Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former." Numbers 18:21 says, "I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance to return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting." Numbers 18:26 says, "Speak to the Levites and say to them, when you receive from the Israelites the tithe I give you as your inheritance, you must present a tenth of that tithe as the Lord's offering." So tithing, you guys, is meant to keep those who are doing the Lord's work. Back in the Old Testament, it was the Levites. They were in charge of the temple, of the tent of meeting, able to set them up to do the Lord's work and do it well and literally have that to be what they focus on. They're not worried about outside resources, how they're going to be taken care of, how they're going to eat, how they're going to work. Their job is to take care of the Lord's work, delivery of the Lord's work, or in the Old Testament case, take care of the temple itself. I personally am not against pastors doing well. As it clearly states in the verses I just read in Matthew 23:23, it does have a warning for them. It says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees," which back in the Old Testament, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were like our present day pastors, if you will. A little sideways on that, but it's the similar bubble, right? He's telling them, you are hypocrites, that you have given a tenth of your spices. So they have given a tenth of their wealth of that day, the mint, the dill, and the cumin, but you've neglected the more important matters of the law, like justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So he's really saying, like, hey, teachers, hey, pastors, you're going to give a tenth of yours as well, but make sure that you're not just giving your tenth, your tithe, and then acting like a jerk. You need to remember the other laws, the other things that the Lord wants you to follow with: justice, mercy, faithfulness. So again, you guys, I am not against pastors doing well. I think that they are held to a high standard, especially in between themselves and the Lord. And I'm definitely not going to cast judgment or get in the way of that. Let me ask you this. If you are a top producer in your job and you do your job well, far leaps and bounds above anybody else, wouldn't you expect to get paid well or live well for it? Right? If a pastor serves his following, his congregation, his church members well with a spirit of excellence, and he receives, say, a percentage of their tithes that they give as his income, or however they have it set up, I don't know. But I personally am happy for him, because if he's killing it and serving top notch, I want to bless that. I am being fed by that. I am being taught by that. I am being kept accountable and being fed in my faith by his teaching, by his leadership, okay? And now I know that there are like tricksters and thieves and posers that are out there, But that is on them, and that is on us to have the wisdom and discernment to see through the falsehood and not to give your money to those people. So I'm not saying that every Tom, Dick, and Harry who says they're a person of God actually is. No, no, no. I am very aware that there are sleazeballs out there that are presenting themselves as God-fearing men or women and completely abusing the good-natured hearts of some Christians that are going to give their money where they think it's going to be beneficial. But like I said, pray and ask the Lord. Seek and do your due diligence. Have wisdom before you give your money. But if you are part of a church, if you know that your pastor is upstanding, it is usually the very few that are the swindlers, you guys. If you're a part of a church, that church, you guys, needs lights. You aren't sitting in the darkness. You're not going to church and sitting in dark or candle lights, okay? You're sitting in a chair. Your butt is in a chair. There are missions that your church is serving, usually around your community, maybe throughout the world. There are bathrooms that need to be cleaned, and you have a pastor that is leading you, and that guy or woman, he needs to eat. So let me go a little bit sideways here for just a minute. The Green Bay Packers football team is owned by its fans. Fans give money to own a share of that team. If they can give and take care of their football team to make sure that it runs smoothly so that they have a say, what the heck? Why would we not take care of our church and our pastor? So tithe as much as you can, you guys. Take it up with the Lord and be obedient with his money that he has given you. If it's 10%, that is what's suggested in the Bible. As the verse goes, the woman who gave 2 pennies, $2, 2 cents, 200, whatever it is that you can give it unto the Lord wholeheartedly. That is what we are doing to take care of our church, take care of our pastor. It is as old as the day is long, is to honor God with our wealth. Okay? Number 2 is almsgiving. Alms is acts and deeds of mercy to the needy. So we followers tend to promote a spirit of charity and to prevent the occurrence of destitution among people, right? In Leviticus 25:38, in Deuteronomy 15:7, it speaks on this. And in 1 John 3:17, it says, if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? So it is really regarding to the state of the poor and the needy, and how as Christians we really do enjoy taking care of those people. There are so many verses in the Bible that hit on this subject that speak to this violently and diligently and very powerfully. Luke 3:11, Luke 6:30, Matthew 6:1, Acts 9:3-6, Acts 10:2, Acts 10:4, Luke 14:13, Acts 20:35, Galatians 2:10, Romans 15:25-7, 1 Corinthians 16:1-4. Okay? They cared not only for the poor among themselves, but contributed also to the necessities of that as a distance. So even people far away, so mission trips, things like that. It speaks of that in Acts 11. Acts 11 quite a bit actually, and 2 Corinthians 9:2. Okay, repeatedly in the Bible, you guys, we have Psalms, we have Proverbs, we have Isaiah 10:2, we have Amos 2:7, we have Jeremiah, we have Ezekiel. The Lord speaks of people who go against this way of giving. Okay, but a large piece of this giving, the alms giving, is absolutely missing and crucial. So if you guys are giving to ministries, if you guys are giving to the needy, the orphans, the widows, as the Bible says, if you guys are giving to these things, I commend you and I bless you, and I'm honored and I love that you have that heart. But please listen up, because this is a massive part of the almsgiving that followers tend to get wrong, or followers tend to get tripped up, okay? In Matthew 6:2, it says, "So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full." Matthew 6:3-4 says, "But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." Okay? So listen up. When you give alms, when you give to the needy, when you give to the orphans and the widows, it is to be done anonymously. It is to be done in secret, kept between you and the Lord, period. Or your reward, the applause of man, will be your reward in full. So if you go online, a lot of online things these days, if you're giving to a mission or an organization that rescues sex slaves or builds houses for the homeless or whatever, a lot of those will state your name. Make sure that you click anonymous when you are giving your gift. The organization knows who to send a thank you to. The organization knows to send you your paperwork. So if it's a write-off for taxes or whatever, the organization itself knows because they know who give the donation on the back side of their systems. But if you state Jamie Shepley gave $500 to XYZ corporation or organization for feeding the homeless, then that goes on their website that Jamie Shepley gave $500. That is my reward. That is my applause. Being posted on that website, that is my reward. That is what the Lord's talking about in this day and age. Back then, they may have shouted it from the rooftops. They may have bragged. They may have said, "Hey, I give to that missionary. Hey, I give to this. Hey, I give to that." It is to be kept in secret between you and the Lord, period. Number 3, you guys, is first fruits. In Proverbs 3:9-10, it says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all of your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." 2 Chronicles 31:4-5 says, "He ordered the people living in Jerusalem to give the portion due to the priests and Levites so they could devote themselves to the law of the Lord. As soon as the order went out, the Israelites generously gave the first fruits of their grain, new wine, olive oil, and honey, and all the fields produced. They brought a great amount, a tithe of everything." They brought a first fruit and they brought a tithe of everything. I want this to stand out. To be very clear, a lot of times first fruits and tithes get mixed up. So a tithe, for example, is 10%. So if you made $1,000, you would tithe 10% of that, which would be $100, right? But first fruits is your increase. It is your first fruits. This says first fruits of their new wine. So they're already making wine. Okay, so that's a currency back in the day. So today we speak in dollars. So say that you have a job and you already make new wine, or you already make wine, meaning you already make $1,000. That's your salary. Okay, so your tithing would be $100, 10% of the $1,000 salary. You are continually making that money. Now it says first fruits of the new wine, okay? So say that you get a raise, you get an increase, and your salary now goes from $1,000 to $1,200. That $200 extra is your first fruits. So what they did, the first fruits of their grain, new wine, olive oil, and honey, you would actually give that first fruit of the $200 one time. One time, okay? That is your first fruit. And then from there, you would tithe off of your normal thing, which would be now $1,200. So now you would be tithing 10% of $120. Hope that makes sense and hope that clears up, because that is a lot of confusion of people not understanding the difference between your first fruits and your tithes. I will take a moment to speak to the people who are self-employed, because we have done a lot of research on this, and I beg of you to do your own due diligence. I'm going to say my piece, but this is where we have sought counsel on to understand, because when you're self-employed, your income is up and down. You never know what it is. So you have two options here. One, because you're tithing on a monthly basis. If you're tithing on a monthly basis, you are actually giving off of the first fruits every single month, because you don't, some month you might have $5,000 and you tithe the 500. Some months you might have $3,000 and you tithe 300. Some months you might have a good month and do $10,000 and you tithe $1,000. If you're consistent in tithing the 10%, your first fruits are already taken care of by the time you get to the end of the year. Does that make sense? So you really, if you're self-employed, be consistent in tithing off of your income, and your first fruits are lumped in there. Your first fruits are already taken care of. Another thing that you can do if you're self-employed is if you happen to have a new something that you sell, maybe you have a new product, or maybe you have a new system or a new course or a new something that you sell, you can, it's between you and the Lord, but one thing that my husband and I like to do is that we like to tithe, or we like to sow and give that first new sale. So if it's a new product, that first sale will give that. So it's really up to you. That's the clarification that we have gotten on first fruits. If you're self-employed, I hope that helps. So in Deuteronomy, it says, Deuteronomy 12:5-6, it says, "But you are to seek the place of the Lord your God will choose from among all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling. To that place you must go. There bring your burnt offerings and sacrifices, your tithes, your special gifts, what you have vowed to give, and your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks." I'm reading this to you because I really want you to get the idea that it's not just tithe or first fruits. It's not just tithe or alms. In the Bible, it really talks about honoring and seeking the Lord with your wealth. And this is exactly managing and protecting and really working your income in the godly way. This is what his word says, you guys. They brought burnt offerings and sacrifices, plus their tithe, plus special gifts, like an alm, or what you have vowed to give. Your free will offerings is also an alm, and the first fruit. Okay, so they're giving everything in addition to. Again, take it up with the Lord, the amount. It doesn't mean that it has to be a ton. I know a lot of people get overwhelmed, like, Jamie, my budget is tight already. Take it up with the Lord. It's not a lot, you guys. When we sow seed, if you will, our first fruits or our offerings, our alms giving, it's not like we're giving these huge amounts. The tithe is always the biggest, okay? But then take it up with the Lord of like, what do I have? What am I increasing in, Lord? What can I give? If it's $1, give $1. It's all about the heart and your positioning towards the Lord with honoring him with your wealth, okay? Because here's the thing, everyone wants the blessing of Abraham, right? Every Christian wants the blessing of Abraham. Everybody likes to be in the covenant of Abraham. Everybody. I've never met one that says that they don't want that. It's bizarre, right? But do you want to do what Abraham did and how he honored God? Because in Genesis 14:19-20, it says, "And he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything." Okay, a lot of this is spoken in Genesis, in Mark 12:41-44, Leviticus, Malachi, Romans. It really is, the first fruits is really being spoken everywhere. So do your due diligence. Read your own Bible, read what it says for yourself, take it up with the Lord. But I encourage you to get your finances organized in this way that the Lord actually speaks about. Now, the fourth one, you guys, we're going to talk to is about seed. Now, a seed faith offering is a money given in faith that God will multiply it and return it to the giver. Okay, now is a lot of controversy regarding the foundation of this, but I want to touch base on it, and I really want to shed some light on this topic for a bit. So this is not a get-rich-quick scheme Bible version, okay? While some may absolutely, they pervert the scriptures for their own increasing, I want you to be very careful, again, where and to whom you sow your money to. Always ask the Lord to show you where to put your tithing, to put your alms, and to put your seed money. Where does it need to go? Ask the Lord and be diligent and faithful and obedient in where He tells you. We have many options, you guys, these days. We don't have, back in the time, with the Israelites, we don't have like one temple that everybody went to. We have lots of options, so seek guidance from Him. And then release your faith with it, okay? But do not turn sowing into a lottery, okay, with the idea that if you give $10, you'll receive $1,000 back. That is a lottery, and again, like I've said several of my teachings before, God is not a frickin' genie, so do not treat Him as one. But our God is absolutely 100% looking to bless His children. One, He wants to bless you wildly. As it says above, honor Him with your wealth and He will open the floodgates. His word does say in Luke 6:38, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. If you give love, you will receive love. Give encouragement, receive encouragement. I personally like to ask the Lord and give into someone's debt in faith that the Lord will give me wonderful ways to pay off my own debts, or give into someone else that I am believing for if they have something. It really is the Bible version of putting your money where your mouth is, people. Most people like to pervert the word for their own gain. Yes, absolutely. But others also pervert it for their own disbelief. The word says, ask for whatever, and it shall be given to you. So what exactly does whatever mean to you? Does it mean whatever except your situation? Whatever except money? No, it does not. The Lord Himself said, ask for whatever, and it will be given. So I am going to give money in certain situations, a seed, and ask the Lord for it to be returned, pressed down, shaken together, and make room for more in my storehouses, just as His word instructed me to do. And at the end of the day, you guys, it really boils down to the number one commandment, to love the Lord with all of your heart. If you lead with that, if you read His word, if you ask Him for wisdom and understanding on it, have a clean heart, you co-labor with the Lord, He wants to bless you and bring you a harvest. God doesn't hate money. As long as He comes first before it, go ahead, have a ton of it. I hope that this teaching, you guys, has helped you understand to honor the Lord better with your money. I hope that it has cleared up things like first fruits, tithing, alms, and seed in a biblical way that maybe you can restructure your income, restructure your giving to make sure that you can tighten it up and do it in the way that the Lord's word says to do it. The Lord tells us, do this, receive that. He tells us, get in the word, read it, ask Him for wisdom, ask Him for where you want your money to go. And I hope that you are better understanding so that you can be faithful with what you have been given and He can trust you with much, much more. Thank you for listening. I hope this was a blessing to you. God bless.